to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane. Starring Ryan Rash.
I'm on my second guardian angel. The first one quit and went to therapy.
And Dale Hummel.
One's actions speak much louder than their words.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, you're an ice-covered, snow-covered, shut-down Fort Worth, is what you were explaining just before we jumped on. Please tell me how Fort Worth reacts to these things.
Terribly. Again, this is not anything new. We've had ice and snow at the Fort Worth Steer Show multiple times. Everybody's acting like the end of the world is coming. And again, like I was telling you earlier, it has been way worse in Fort Worth than this. I know these people don't realize it, but I have lived through way worse in Fort Worth than this. These people are a bunch of pussies. That's just all there's to it. And then it's everybody not hating on the people that are at the stock show. They all acted. No one forced you to come. You could have stayed home. And everybody on social media is talking about how they made a death trip here and yada, 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 all this other stuff. But the biggest thing that, no one showed up to work to the hotels. The buses aren't running. There's nothing. There is no Uber Eats. There's nothing. And again, it has been way worse in Fort Worth, Texas than this before. And you would think that, literally, this is Snowmegalodon or some shit.
I love it. I can remember it was a long time ago, early 2000s or before, probably early 2000s, at Fort Worth for the judging contest. We jumped in a 15-passenger van with several coaches to go to Kincaid's hamburger joint. And it was icy. It was bad. And even for us Northerners at that time, and I've been through several there after that, but that one was just straight ice. There was no salt. There was no anything. It was only about a mile and a half, maybe. I don't know how far that restaurant is from the stock show, but it was it truly was a battle to get there. So I get it. I think everybody keeps some of those really bad ones in their mind, and then anything that happens, they're just not going to work. They shut down. They're done.
People came to the stock show. They made it. I don't know of any wrecks or anybody that got hurt or anything like that. I think they're being a little dramatic on Facebook, but that's fine. They're entitled to it, I guess. But I'm telling you, at the hotel that I'm at, they said yesterday over half of their people did not come in.
Wow. And should we announce to the world that this podcast may be on a limited amount of episodes? We may be having to shut down.
I hope not. Why are you trying to kill off Clifton?
Well, just the fact that while we're talking about ice, we've had a little ice in the north, and Clifton and I are up here in the Midwest, and not to throw Clifton on our bus, but he had an accident on the ice where he bumped his head, probably hard enough that.
And now you're trying to kill him.
To be looked at. But I did a little bit of research on this, Ryan, just a little bit. And there was a study that came out with over 15,000 individuals that was recently published about concussions. And I know
talking about the one today that came out over the freaking football players. I'm so.
It wasn't. This was more. I remember they did a whole helmet thing with the football players a year ago and tried to redesign and implement things. But what I got, and I wasn't as worried about that. Everybody as a child, or most people is you're going to hit your head. You're going to have these things, but some do have it at a higher instance than others. But basically, just the concussions, your brain being shaken. And they talk about 3 concussions, I think, in this study. And Ryan, you probably saw it on Fox. That will cause mental issues of some sort, more so later than life than obviously sooner. And the more concussions you have, you increase your chances of cognitive abilities being decreased. So with that, it's interesting to me that would you not assume that Sleepy Joe was beat in the head or kicked in the head as a child or a young adult daily?
No, I just don't think he has any brain cells, period. Since we're on this whole football nonsense topic, since you bring it up, let's just get it all over the way.
Oh,
Tom Brady has hijacked the news cycle once again, retiring for the second time. Yay, raw, whatever.
He did not have a big press conference. He did anything. He just did a quick video.
And it is all that has been playing for the last 3 hours.
That is not his fault. That is what is
I'm not blaming him. I'm just hoping that he stays retired this time, like for good.
It seemed very sincere. Would you agree?
Did I say he didn't seem sincere? He
You're
seemed
saying,
real
I hope.
sincere.
I hope.
He said he seemed real sincere last year too when he made a big elaborate deal about it, and then guess what? Not so much. And he is by far the best quarterback ever, probably the greatest athlete of all time. All this, I hope he's already got a contract signed for Fox for like multi-million dollars, whatever, all this, whatever. But just let it go, people. Y'all got to mourn him last year. Just move on.
And he kind of, did he not? I believe in it, and I didn't listen to all of it, but I believe he said, hey, you only get one big announcement.
Yes, he said you only get one big emotional retirement essay, and that was last year. So at least he admitted it. But still, it has literally hijacked the entire news cycle.
It has done that.
I mean, literally for the last 3 hours, they have like one real news story and then Tom Brady retiring from someone else's perspective. I'm like, he gave you his perspective. He said, oh.
Have you had concussions as a child, kicked in the head by a calf, or any good stories on that?
No, not really.
No, so you're probably safe. You're going to maintain cognitive abilities.
One time I did get thrown into a table by a calf, and I had like 32 stitches over my eye. But no, I never got stepped on the head by a calf or anything else like that. No, so.
That's good. I tell everybody that contacts me, mostly our clients, that if I forget to text back or anything, I rely on reminders and don't take any offense to, hey, you forgot to send me this or that. And I have something to blame it on now. It all makes sense, Ryan. It all makes sense.
Or your concussions. Yeah.
Yes. I think I've had plenty, too many, and it's going to get worse. So just heads up. How did you like the behavior of the police in Memphis?
What happened to that man is terrible. I'm not saying it's not terrible. It was senseless death, all this other stuff. I don't understand what the buildup was. Because like everybody's talking about is the worst videos they've ever seen, all this other stuff. I don't understand why they did all that. And like they prepared the whole world to go up in flames for the 950th time and all this other stuff. And the videos were awful. Do not get me wrong. The videos were awful. I don't think I saw anything on that video that was worse than Rodney King or George Floyd, just to be honest with you.
No, I would agree with that. And maybe
there's
video things that happened that were not, I don't know. But you're right.
I never saw the man bleed in the videos that they released. I'm not saying there's not worse videos, and the man died because of this. And it's terrible but this whole 2-day lead up, preparing everybody for the most horrific and all these things and whatever. And then we've seen equally as bad, if not worse, all senseless and all terrible, but we have seen situations like this just as bad, if not worse.
I would agree with that. And I think the media staged that. That was a very poor decision to stage it as is, but they're trying to get people to watch, and I understand ratings, all those things, but poor idea, bad idea to stage it as it was, almost like they were wanting the world to go upside down. Right.
It was like they pushed you for 2 days for this to prepare you for whatever. And I sat there and I'm not trying to make light of the situation or say that it's not a terrible, awful thing that should have never happened. It did. But I'm telling you, I have seen worse, in my opinion. I have seen worse than what was on that deal, as bad as it was. I have witnessed worse before.
No,
and then to have it on Friday, like the person that, and I think people are missing out on this, the chief of this police still, like, I don't understand the Friday night at 8:00 and she's talking about school children and all this other stuff. I didn't understand any of this. I still don't understand it. The fact that they won't release what these police officers task force that they were members of truly are supposed to do. there's just some weird stuff involved in all of this.
There is, in my perspective, and again, I it is just my theory or my look upon this situation. If we have situations such as this, and they're gonna occur, they're gonna continue to occur, and it's not because and it doesn't matter to me that the 5 initial officers were all black on a black victim or person they were arresting. I guess we're thankful they were black, but I could care less if they're purple, white, yellow, green. I don't care. The fact that they were black maybe takes the race out of it. I think if that would have been turned around, it would have definitely been about race. When I don't believe it's about any of that. And I'm not saying there isn't racism in some of the police officers out there and all those things. There's ignorance in people in every stage of whatever occupation they choose to pursue. And there's ignorant police officers. There just are. The majority of them, I don't believe, are that way at all. But the fact that we had this on display and it didn't appear as though that particular individual was deserving maybe of what was going on, but we don't know what happened prior to them pulling him over. We don't know a lot of different things. So I get it a little bit that if those police are on edge, that they're going to drag him out of the car a little more forcefully. They're going to do some of those things. I'm with you, Ryan. It doesn't all make sense at all, other than there's ignorance involved, period. I see that completely. And what I want to get across, let's look at the individual, not the color of the individual, and blame it for what it is. Ignorance, whatever direction you want to take it, but it's not about skin color. And I know there was a lot of talk about how it was 5 black officers on a black victim and so forth. If it had been turned around and 5 white officers, the world would have burned down. I understand what they're saying, but it shouldn't be that way, because I don't believe that's the root of it. I believe it's all around circles around ignorance, unfortunately.
Yeah, again, I just think this whole deal is strange, and I'm not saying it's been blown out of proportion, but it's just very odd how the media, how the Memphis Police Department, how everyone has handled this.
Nope, I agree. What else is happening on current events? I'm a little limited. We had our first sale yesterday for the season, so I've been picturing and doing write-ups and sale things, and I have not had a lot of exposure to the news.
I think the newest thing is they're now searching another one of Biden's beach homes for more documents.
That's interesting, and I don't know who's searching. I think that they've kind of taken it over. But those initial searches by Biden's attorneys, is that not encouraging what we're exactly trying to prevent by people that are not allowed to see classified information actually having exposure to them? I am so confused by the hypocrisy and the crap that's going on in that. It's terrible, Ryan. Terrible. And again, I don't know what those classified documents are or how critical they are to national defense or anything. But we have a system in place that they're classified for a reason, good or bad. Why on earth would you have your attorneys go and try to find those and search those out when they're not allowed to see the documents? Explain that one to me.
I don't understand any of this. And again, I still say that there's something very fishy going on with this whole situation, because when the whole Trump thing came out, he was like a dog with a bone with this, and now he's got more classified documents in more places when he shouldn't even have classified documents, because number one, he wasn't president, and you damn sure can't have him as vice president or a senator. You had to steal him when he was a senator, and this is still happening, and there's more to come. And again, this morning they're searching another home, which I find very interesting that they were just in last weekend. That's where they went last weekend. And now they're searching it. Yeah. So the FBI is searching it this morning. That's where the Bidens were this past weekend, and the FBI is searching it today.
Just amazing to me. So if let's just say if anybody, not just Joe, Sleepy Joe and his wife or whoever's there, if you have something in your home that you shouldn't have, and you know the FBI is probably going to be there the next week, what are you going to do with it, Ryan?
Get rid of it. But I don't think that's you. See, I'm completely opposite than you. I don't think that. I think that this is all a setup, and he went to this home, and now they're going to find documents there.
If they do find documents there, that would further prove the case of his ignorance.
I'm telling you, I think this is, and I'm not saying he didn't take them or somebody on his staff didn't take them or whatever. I think this is all a setup.
I'm with you. I don't believe they're planting documents, but I believe they're encouraging the search for documents. How's that?
This has all been orchestrated, in my honest opinion. And then now Hunter's they've started the deal with Hunter, and there's some email where he's trying to sell blackmail material about a Russian oligarch, and evidently they're saying the only way that he could have got that information was by having access to the classified material. So now Biden's top supporters have started a legal defense fund for Hunter. It's all too coincidental. It all comes together too easily. I truly believe this is purely and solely, I don't think they want him impeached, but I think they want him burnt bad enough that even if he tries to run for president again, he will not be the Democratic nominee.
And that's
which I don't think they understand how terrible that will look.
I think they're at a point where they're desperate. They don't want him running again. Period.
And so that's and this whole thing is going to get wild because Nikki Haley, who is a staunch Trump supporter, was on the record multiple times saying she would never run if Donald Trump announced, is now running for president. And so again, on both sides, this is going to get crazy.
It's going to be a bloodbath on every level.
And the whole thing is like, and again, I don't know if Nikki Haley, I think she was very good being the UN ambassador. I'm sure she was a great governor of South Carolina. I don't know. I didn't follow her. And I'm not saying that she couldn't be a fine president. But the more people that sign up on the Republican side, the easier it is going to be for Donald Trump to get the nomination. Because there is 40% of the Republican Party that are rabid, staunch, never change, never not support, all those things, Trumpers, and he will get them to go out for the primary vote. Where these other people, I don't know. So, like, if he just has one opponent, that's one thing. But the more, I think Senator Scott went to Iowa the other day and started an exploratory committee, from what I understand, the senator from Florida. The more people that go in on the Republican side, they're just making it easier for him to win, in my honest opinion.
No, I would agree with that. It'll be interesting. We're going to have to do a few more Beyond the Circus at that point, I believe, which we're going to try to do one sooner than later, are we not?
Well, after the State of Union by the president.
It will be delusional. Absolutely delusional.
Want to see what he has.
I wanted to bring one more thing up, and I know we're running late, and we've talked about the border and the issues there a lot. I've looked into it, and it seems like more things are surfacing, just like the incident in New York City where the immigrants, illegals, whatever you want to refer them to, were in one of the hotels in New York, and they decided to move them from there to more lesser accommodations, and they're kind of protesting, refusing to go. What is interesting to me, and you and I had talked about this, but I didn't realize how these people were surviving. How are they getting food to eat? How are they finding all these things? The government's been paying for all this. That's our tax dollars that has been paying.
But that's New York City. No. Calm down. Now, wait a second. Let's get your facts right. That's New York City. They're a sanctuary city. So
correct. But I believe, well, just from what I've gathered, we're still giving them X amount of dollars. And I don't know if it's
federal government does give sanctuary cities an X amount, but the majority of it,
the individuals when they come across are also getting dollars. And then
the majority of it, the majority of the money from sanctuary cities to house these people does come from the city.
Yes. I guess I'm going back using that to stage something here in terms of that little protest and things like that. So my impression, again, it's just an isolated group. So I'm not blanketing this. And I think there's a lot of good people coming across the border. And if I could
do not.
Oh, there's some families. Yep. There are
I've
some.
decided no. I'm Trump. No.
And I'm not opposed to it. I guess to me, because of sanctuary cities.
If they're good people, they would do it the legal way.
Okay. But they think, but this works so much better. And they're just, yeah. I don't think when they come across legally, we give them a debit card for $2,000 or a plane ticket somewhere. I think they're kind of on their own. I do not know this for a fact, but when we do things like what we're doing, whether it's sanctuary city, a federal government, we're pushing that whole entitlement lifestyle again, that if you get to the USA, you don't have to do anything. We'll take care of you. And I am so far out on that. It just irritates me to the bone. And we continue to take that path, not only with the people coming across the border illegally, but just the system itself. It's continuing to snowball that people don't think they need to work. Go back to your Fort Worth situation with the ICE, Ryan. You said half the hotel workers didn't come in, where 10 years ago, if this happened, they probably would have showed up. I think it's all a part of the woke culture, and it's wearing on me. It really, really is. And I'm not a fan of how all this is going. And I think the impact of this, we haven't even begun to comprehend.
Well, you brought this up, and so I don't know why you're being a liberal today, but anyway, you're wrong on the border crisis. Like, these are not good people coming in. They are not.
No,
if they were good people. You got to say what you got to say now. I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
Say it.
If they were good people, they would do this the right way. There is a legal way to become a citizen of the United States, no matter where the hell you're from, and you should use that. Secondly, I don't understand why all of the stuff on the border, like they use the fiscal year, which started October 1st. This morning, the House Judiciary Committee is kicking off border hearings. Jim Jordan's running them, all this other stuff. From October 1, which they consider the new year. Last year, there was like 16,000 pounds of fentanyl seized at the border. From October 1 till now, almost 10,000. So no, good people are not coming across the border. From October 1 till now, the 39th person has been arrested and caught crossing the border illegally that was on the National Terror Watch List. No, not a good person.
I guarantee you we could find 39 good people. I'm not, and again, I do not want anybody. I'd like a border like none. I have got to insert myself. There are some good people, and I will justify it when you're done.
No.
What are the new rules?
39 national terrorists on since October 1, Dale. Since October 1.
I agree with that, and there could be 39.
2,500 people are coming across the board illegally every single day.
Yes, and what I'm saying,
they know they're doing it illegally. They know they're not doing it the right way.
It's no longer.
So no,
I think it's no longer illegal. I guess is the point I'm trying to get at.
Yes, it is illegal. Yeah, it is.
I predict they will become U.S. citizens. And you said, well, how do you become U.S. citizens? Do it the legal way. This appears to be the new legal way. Is what I'm getting at. The ridiculousness of how the system's changed. We agree that nobody should be coming in without documentations, without doing it the right way. My problem is I think this has become the norm. This is the new right way. And I'm out. And if I have a family and I'm struggling, whether it's Mexico, Central America, wherever it is, and I've done everything I can and I can't make ends meet, and all of a sudden the rules have changed and we can walk across that border and become U.S. citizens at some point, I'm probably going to do it. Do I think that we should allow that to happen? Absolutely not. But there are those people coming across, and along with that, an enormous amount of very bad people, period. It is going to destroy so much that we would consider or have been afforded in the past in terms of our safety, in terms of I could go on forever. and we're running long here, but I think we both agree we need a wall that's a mile deep and 10 miles high, and let's shut it down. And you're right. If the process was like it used to be, you go through the traditional process. But I think that's changed until I don't know when, until we have a federal government that's willing to enforce the laws that are on the books and or change some of those laws. Are we good on current events, you believe?
Yes, I'm fine.
Do you know about the drink Prime? You heard anything about this new drink, Prime, I believe it's called? Sports drink, electrolyte. We'll talk about it next time, but it's I wanted to bring it up because they're $12 a bottle for this electrolyte drink, and they can't keep it in stock in the UK or Australia, and it all originates from an American YouTuber, I believe. But my kids have been talking about it. I kind of overheard it, but absolutely crazy how this is going across. I'm sure our listeners know far more about it than we do. With that, do we have any BTR JLA news?
Again, I'm so far behind on this because we've been so busy trying to get these awards out. Anyway, awards are starting to go out. We are going in order. We are doing national and then regional. And then if your state was sponsored this year, then the state awards will go out last. I would believe that the majority of the national awards will be out by the time this podcast drops on Friday. Next week, we should have the majority of the regional banners out. Again, a lot of you last year thought it was difficult on keeping up with your points because you didn't know what shows had posted. If you'll go, we've already got points for 2023 up, the first set of points. If you'll go on there, right under the point standings link, there is a link where you can hit to see which shows have reported. So hopefully that will make it easier for y'all. Again, it's just now January, end of January, 1st of February. Please go sign up. If you need to sanction your show, I've had a ton of people email about sanctioning shows this week. The process is very simple. And again, all you have to do is go on the website, go to sanction shows, fill out the form, pay the $50 fee per species, and hit submit. And then your show is sanctioned. It goes on the calendar. And then you email the points, the results, not the points. We do the points. You email the results in after your show is over. And so if you have other questions, if you'd like to be a sponsor, we need national sponsors, we need region sponsors, we need buckle sponsors, we need banner sponsors, the whole 9 yards. Again, if you want to be a sponsor, the information is on the website, but please feel free to contact me. I can tell you what's still available. I don't want everybody to I think the thing that people got the most confused on sponsorship last year is they would see that Region 1 was sponsored, or all those things, and they were, but that just is a blank deal. That doesn't mean that every buckle that we gave in Region 1 was sponsored and all that other stuff. So if you can't be a big dollar sponsor, but you want to sponsor a buckle or sponsor a banner, we need you. And again, national buckles $250, and it goes down from there on the region buckles, the banners, and the trophies, all that stuff. So we need the smaller dollar donation sponsors just as much as we need the large dollar ones. So again, if you want to sponsor, please let us know.
Excellent. And just for clarification, the county and state fairs do not have sanctioning fees. Is that correct?
Yes, but
county fairs and state fairs.
You just brought up a big can of worms, but anyway, I was trying to avoid this, but people are your actual county fair, not a show put on by the county fair, not a show put on by a county 4-H group, not the actual county fair. Yes, that can be sanctioned for free. To do that, you have to contact us through email or contact me, because we had a link up there for that and people were abusing it and trying to get free sanctioning. So now you can't do it that way. But your actual county fair, yes, it can be sanctioned for free. State fairs, the actual state fair, not a state show, but a state fair, can be sanctioned for free. Yes, but they have to contact us to do it.
Excellent. Not difficult and can be done. And I appreciate the feature on the website because I receive some of the questions, even though I know very little about where we're at in the points and how that's all going on a daily basis, almost zero. But the fact that they can go and click on the website and determine if that show that they just went to, if those points have been entered. And I know that was a big question for a lot of people last year, and it took a lot more time to email everybody back to go look up if that show's been in there. So hopefully it's making it much more streamlined. Hopefully it's making it easier, more user-friendly that, hey, I went to 3 shows and only 2 of them have sent their points in, and that was 3 months ago. Maybe I better get a hold of that show and say, hey, as a show family, contact the show and say, hey, my kid hasn't gotten points yet. Have you sent them in? Excellent updates, I believe. With that, ShowFresh H2O, once again, is a sponsor of this episode. One of the essentials when packing for any show. Do not ask me about the importance of hydration if you do not want a strong opinion. ShowFresh H2O added to the water will remove the chlorine taste and livestock will drink more. It's that simple. ShowFresh H2O can be found at your local supply trailer and swampfox.com. Thank you for your continued support. Is it time?
Sure.
One of the best possible episode topics you've ever come up with?
Don't know about all that because
we're putting
every
high
time
expectations on it.
Every time we like one, nobody likes it. So,
and we had a couple different titles. The first one was Big Brother is watching, and I was worried they're going to think the government is watching us, and it has nothing to do with that, even though the government is watching. But rather, the new revised title is People Are Watching. Ryan, please
people
explain.
Watching.
People watching, people are watching. Whatever title, it can be any title we want.
Oh,
you explain how you came up with the concept or this idea. You have a great story,
Jesus.
A great story. Just start with that story. It's so good.
So again, I'm here at Fort Worth, and I decided that I was just, and of course it was a terrible week to take, but I was just going to take this week off and watch the Fort Worth Steer Show and the Hereford Show and all this other stuff. Now we've been iced in and can't do anything, can't get anywhere, but it's whatever. But so I was in the stands watching the show and all this other stuff. And I know that everybody probably doesn't watch what goes on around them as much maybe as I do, but I still think you watch and observe things and stuff like this. And so just the other day, I was sitting there and watching the show, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see these little group of girls, and 2 of them are just being normal, small girls, just sitting there talking, playing with each other's hair, whatever, all this other stuff. And then this other one is sitting there. She is shoulders back, focused on the show, intense, paying attention. Anybody, anytime an adult of any age or anybody walks by her, she speaks, she says hello, all of these things. And so I was immediately just so impressed with that young lady. And she wasn't in the ring. She wasn't showing any of those things. But again, watching her and how intensely focused she was on what was going around, speaking to everybody that came near her, all of those things, is like, this little girl is really, really with it. And it just got me to thinking that you never realize how many people are watching you at a show at any given time. And I'm talking not inside the ring. I'm talking outside the ring. And that we talk about trying to, how this is so difficult and so hard to win and so all these things, and that you need every little edge that you can get. I'm sure I wasn't the only one that noticed that child. I mean, maybe not the whole ring noticed her, but I don't think I was the only one. And if I see that girl in a ring ever, I'm going to remember her from that moment. And she's immediately going to have a very positive first impression already. And I've said on this deal before that in the end, you want the judge to pull for you. if you're showing. You want that judge to pull for you and want you to win. And it is things like that that make those things happen.
Absolutely. That is so true, Ryan. And I don't know that we stop and as youth, and I would have to say that I was not aware as much as this young lady is, and I compliment her parents for raising her.
Her parents were that was the state. Her parents were nowhere near her. This was just three little girls sitting there, and no one was telling her to speak to the. I mean, it was just like I get in trouble because I say exactly what but like some people have gifts that other people don't have, and this is just one of it. It doesn't mean with hard work and dedication and busting your ass that you won't ever be as accomplished as that person. But some people in all areas of life are going to be naturally more gifted than you. That's just what it is. And I'm not saying this was a gift that she was sitting there but like there are some people that are just more in depth to a situation than other people as well. And that's what this was, because there was no parent anywhere near her telling her to pay attention to what was going to clap when the judge asked for applause, to speak to every adult that walked by. She was doing that all on her own.
I think that's a result in part of her parenting. Not that they're right there near her. But
no, I mean, I agree with that, but I'm just saying I've seen the other end where a mom or dad sits behind and be like, get up and talk to that person or clap. And I'm not saying that this child has not been raised beautifully and that her parents probably don't have a great deal to do with it, but it was just really, really impressive.
That's good. And again, we don't know. And in the stock show world, it's a small world. When you think about it, this little girl just starting out 8, 9, 10, however old she is, and maybe she'll be in this all of her life. At some point, a good portion of the stock show world is going to have an impression of this girl or anyone, of us, of all of us. And it's interesting. And Ryan, we can go back and talk about how, and you went through and described it so well: body posture, body language, heck, even clothing, hair, personal style, habitual behaviors, gestures, facial expressions, just so many things that play a part in how you give an impression to an individual, to those that are watching. We don't consciously think about this, and especially as youth, in that first impression or those first few impressions, if they're negative, it's going to be hard. Even if we wake up and choose to change how we present ourselves in public, that is hard to reverse. I'm not saying it can't be, but there's already an impression that has been made. For example, the impression of this young lady. If you were to see her not quite as professional later, unless she's doing something outrageously wrong, you're not going to change that first impression by a lot, for the most part. No, and I don't think we can emphasize this enough for the youth that are listening out there. It is so important, and it's one of the. I'm not saying it's easy to change and give that impression, and it shouldn't matter necessarily what clothes you're wearing or how your haircut is or all these things. Not necessarily popular or politically correct in today's society, but I promise you that everybody that's watching you has their own opinion. There's going to be some that's going to be a part of that opinion. It just is.
Oh yeah, and I can use me for example. The other day, I pretty much dress the same all the time, other than the fact that when I'm judging, I wear boots every single time. But I mean, the other day I was at the show, and it was the day we presented the all-around trophy or whatever. And several people commented on my shoes and stuff like this, all this other stuff. And then the other day at the Hereford show, a friend of mine said that I was so on brand that day. And I didn't know exactly what that comment meant, but I just I just dress how I want to. But I can use me. There are some people that think my personal style and how I present myself and all this stuff is great, and that it is a reflection of me being true to myself and all this other stuff. And they absolutely think it's wonderful and dig it and all this other stuff. And I promise you, there is an equal amount of people that find it absolutely repulsive. And that's just how it is. And I know that. I understand that. I am not going to change how I dress or how I act or how other those things because of that group of people that do not think that I should be involved in the livestock industry because of my personal choices or stuff like that. But it is something that I have to battle every single day.
You're consciously aware of it. And I think
Right.
that's the important part, that this is happening. And yeah, I'm not going to say you're going to offend somebody by the way you dress, but if there's going to be a percent of the population that simply don't approve, it just is what it is. And you're probably not going to change some of their minds will not be changed no matter what you do.
Right. Doesn't matter what I do in a ring, outside of ring or not, but just because of what they see and what they perceive, they may never talk to me. They are not going to approve. And that is their right. Everybody's entitled to opinion, all this other stuff. But I guess the difference in what I'm trying to bring up here is I know that I'm not, living in a tree. I understand that is out there and that is part of it. I also think that is a big reason why I should continue to do and be exactly who I want to be, to show people that we should be more welcoming and, less judgmental to everybody, that you don't have to be that stereotypical, cowboy hat wearing person to be a livestock judge.
Don't go to the black vest and white shirt. Don't do it.
Or any of that, whatever, any of that. I don't think that, and it goes way past being gay and flamboyant. It goes to color. It goes to, women versus men, all this other stuff. I can go on forever on that. But the thing is, people do watch and people do judge you just because of that. And, the good, the bad, the negative. And I don't know why it took me this long to figure out this topic. And again, it is solely because of this experience I had the other day. But this is something that we've never talked about. And it is so relevant. And again, I don't know how this has escaped me, especially me being who I am. But it is something that we all need to think about. And I just think it's something that we need to bring up.
No, I think so, Ryan. And we've touched on some things like that when you pull somebody in third and they give you that look, like what are you doing in the show ring as a judge? We've talked about that, and those things are all part of this. It forms an opinion. And I want to bring out an example. I think I have formed stronger opinions on exhibitors, and we're going to go, and this happens inside and outside of the ring, on those that have won very graciously, and even maybe more so those that were defeated when they had expectations of winning and have worked so hard, all of these things that so many people do, and there's only one champion that day. The way they conduct themselves after they've gotten beat, even if they thought maybe they should have won or did everything possible to put themselves in that position, those behaviors, those body gestures, facial expressions, even the words that were said after such event, those have allowed me to form very, very positive opinions of a lot of individuals out there. And those opinions hold true every time I see that person. And I think we just need to be consciously more aware that people are watching, that every action that we make speaks stronger than what the words are we necessarily say.
Yeah, and you were talking, to bring up another part of this, you were talking about the one that gives you a bad look or rolls your eyes when you're third or whatever. Now, not every judge is going to catch that, okay? But, again, just watching this show the other day, I didn't see any exhibitor do that. Now, did I see some people in the makeup ring that were attached to an exhibitor do that? Absolutely, I did. And I paid attention to which animal came out and went to that group, because I wanted to see, obviously it wasn't going to be the one in first because they weren't happy. And so I think that's another part of it, that like, it's not just the exhibitor, but this is a team effort. And everybody on the team, if you are going to be fully embraced in that team and on that person's show, involved in that person's show career and all this other stuff, you have to realize that everybody is being watched. And again, will what I saw or what I see at any of these shows in the upcoming months affect how animals are placed? I don't think so. But again, I also do think, just like we said, the subconscious plays in your sorting and evaluating, and there are decisions that are close. And if there is ever a close call, it may be something like this that I witnessed completely outside of a ring that makes me lean one way or another. And that's just facts. If you don't want to hear that, then you're really not trying to do every single thing you can to be competitive or win at this game.
No, and it just is. It is what it is. And we can go out there and say we're going to sort them exactly how that animal's appearance is, but it's subjective. And you talked about earlier, Ryan, that positive impression that young lady at Fort Worth watching that show gave you. If she's in the ring with other individuals and it's just about the same, it doesn't matter which way it goes, it's probably going to fall her way. It just is what it is.
No, I don't know. I'm not prepared to say that. I'm not. But I do think, I mean, like I will say this, from the time that she steps in, I will be rooting for her. That doesn't, if her animal's not good enough or all this other stuff, but ultimately, if you can have the person sorting the show rooting for you from the beginning, that's a big deal.
You're not going to get missed. Your animal's going to get a good look.
Right. Yeah, but I'm not just going to say that she's probably going to win regardless.
No,
I mean,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
that's what you said.
No, if it comes down, you got two animals that are virtually the same. That's where I say it's probably going to
okay. No, if it's two, that's close call. Yeah, I said that. She
doesn't win. She drags a dog in the ring. She ain't going to win. I'm aware of this. But
I mean,
even and maybe go out to one step further. I can have two totally different type of animals out there that maybe what I like is somewhere in between the two. And then all of a sudden, in all honesty, it doesn't matter to me which way I go there. Do I have obviously I end up with a preference and go one way or the other, but in situations like that.
No, I mean, I think you can come up with a million scenarios. And that's why I wanted to bring this up, where something like this can have a positive or negative effect on the thing. And I don't think anybody realizes that. That's why I wanted to bring this up, that everything that you do at a show, you have no idea who all is watching you or who all is noticing things and or all these things. And these could be people that it could be 5 years down the road at a show that hasn't even been come up with yet. I mean, the possibilities are endless on this deal. And so I think that it's just something that nobody talks about, nobody does, but I think that you have to constantly, and I'm not saying not be who you are or have a good time or all of these things, but I think in the back of our minds, we all need to remember that you never know who is observing you. And I'm telling you, last night in the bar at this hotel alone, I'm here by myself, my parents left. Again, nobody can get up here or whatever, all this other stuff. In the bar at the hotel alone, I did not think, I mean, did I notice stock show people or who I thought were stock show people? Absolutely, I did. 5 different people that I have never met, never would have reckoned, nothing came up. So again, and I wasn't doing anything besides sitting down there eating dinner and playing on my phone. But it just goes to show, and I realize a lot more people know who I am than most people and whatever, but it just goes to show that you have no idea the number of people that are literally watching you at any given time throughout this process.
I couldn't agree more, Ryan. I want to take it one step further, and we focused a little bit on how it affects the show ring and how badly you want to win and doing all the things to get to that point. There's no question this affects whether you stay in the stock show world or not. We talk about building better kids in the ring, and irregardless if they stay in our industry, whatever path they choose to take, these are going to be beneficial things. And this is the same. Everything we do every day is being judged. And as Ryan put, maybe not appropriately, but it is. It's the real thing. It's real. It happens. But I can assure you this exact same thing that Ryan has explained so well is happening when you're a new employee at a given business, or you're even a student at a new school and the professors are forming opinions. All of these things come into play no matter what you're doing. And as I became a parent and had more life experiences, it's so much easier for me now to reflect back upon those things. You always talk about, I wish you could live your life again, and it would be so simple to do things in a manner that makes your life easier. If for nothing else, the actions you take by presenting yourself in a, let's say, a professional manner, a polite, a positive manner, are going to impact later much more strongly than the strong efforts that you take to try to make that change then. So I don't know if that confuses people or not, but it's in everyday life. It's in everything that we do. People are watching. If you're in an airport in Switzerland or somewhere like that, and you're probably not around anybody that knows you, nor do they care who you are, do your actions matter then? Probably not. But I think if you put yourself in a position to be consistent everything you do, you don't have to worry about it. If somebody's watching, you're presenting yourself in a manner that is very appropriate. And there's not a single slot on how to dress or what your hairstyle should be or any of these things, but there are universal positive images you can put out there. And I think the best example, Ryan, is how you described the young lady sitting in the front row watching the Hereford show at Fort Worth.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that I'm trying to tell everybody that you have to be 100% perfect all the time, or you have to be, all these things, or how to dress or anything, because clearly I don't listen to anybody on how to dress. I mean, let's just be real honest here. But I do think that if you were always putting forth the best image of yourself, I don't think there's anything wrong with kids going outside the barn and playing football or anything like that, or anything, those things. Be a kid, be an adult, have fun. That's what the purpose of this is. Like, you should want to have a good time at stock shows. There's too much money, effort, and energy put into this. And again, this topic came up because of a very positive experience that I have. I think that we're not thinking enough of the fact that the negative can be there as well, and probably more noticeable. I think if somebody was having a fit in the holding ring over how an animal got placed, I think more people would probably notice that than what I noticed in this young girl. And so just try to be the best that you can be at all times, and not because you want to be successful and not because you want your team to be successful and win, but also because it's the right thing to do. And there's a quote, and I didn't write it, but I've seen it 1,000 times. It says, "Somewhere in the show barn, there's a little kid that wants to be just like you someday. You owe it to them to be the very best you can be." And this goes back to you never know who's watching you. And so let's all just try to be the very best we can be and still have a good time. Know that we're not perfect. Know that there's going to be moments where we've all probably said or done things that we didn't need to, but try to learn from those and move on.
I love it. It's interesting, and as you go through some of those things, Ryan, and describe them the way you do, I think about the situations that have drawn my attention, and this is going outside of the stock show world, just into everyday life. And I'm sure you've experienced it probably more than I have when you're at a restaurant and there's a family there and there's a child or a couple of children that are just behaving as poorly as you possibly can imagine, running around, doing whatever they shouldn't be doing, and the parents seem totally oblivious to it. That's an impression that I form. Boom, it draws my attention. Maybe even more so sometimes than the ones that are doing things correctly and you're not drawing attention to it. But also, every time I see a child out there that's well behaved, just like you talked about in that young girl at Fort Worth, it does draw my attention. And it makes me feel really, really good that, wow, that child is going to have more positive life experiences because of the parenting, because maybe they were born with some way to be more outgoing or whatever it may be. But I can think of so many situations, unfortunately, on the negative side. And in flying first class, this might not happen to you. On an airplane, when you have a family behind you, let's say a child and two parents, and that child is sitting directly behind you and so chooses to grab the back of your seat and shake it or kick it the entire way, and those parents are sitting there allowing that to happen. So I get it that you talk about some people are born with certain things, but I want to bring in, we can make a difference. We may not be able to take a complete opposite, not switch it around completely from somebody that would normally be a total introvert to the most outgoing person in the world. But the way we conduct ourselves as parents, and again, I'm speaking to the parents out there, a lot of times it's not about sitting behind that child and poking them to clap or telling them to do those things. I think those things need to be done. If they're not, we need to try to correct the issue and make it go a positive way. But guess what? Probably resonates more than anything, especially at a young age, is your actions. If you lead by example, I think those children are more likely to follow that exact example. Even if they are teenagers and think you're an idiot and you know nothing at all, at some point, all of those things come back around. And how you conduct yourself as a parent or an uncle or a broker that's helping a family or any interactions you have where those children look up to you, whatever example you're setting is going to have an impact. Period. It just does.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So again, that's why I thought this, I still fathoms me that I had never come up with this topic before, but just think that we all need to be mindful of it. And it's just it's the same old thing that everybody says, actions have consequences, and some of those are good consequences and some of those are bad consequences, but just be mindful of it and always try to put your best self forward at all times.
And we're never going to be perfect in how we conduct ourselves. Ryan and I probably are some of the best examples of not doing everything correctly as children or adults or wherever you're going to be. But let's just make a conscious effort.
I was a perfect child.
Oh, you were
I do not know what the hell you're talking about. I was a perfect child.
I've witnessed you before not be a perfect
I was a perfect child. There was no one more intense on winning the stock show than me. I was the perfect.
I will not argue that point. Do I classify that as a perfect child? Absolutely no.
Perfect.
Well, let's see how perfect you are with question and answer. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Nicole. And I believe Nicole, we've had this question.
You said you weren't going to use names anymore. Remember?
Oh, yep. Too late now. Too late. These questions I don't think are going to compromise them.
Okay.
So anyway, Nicole, and we've had this question maybe worded a little differently, but it keeps coming up. So maybe we need to address it again. A question for the podcast. Why is there no database for livestock judges or judges certification like there are in the horse world for livestock judges? We've addressed this, but we probably ought to readdress.
And I have addressed this to Dale within the last couple of months, and he says no, because I think there should be. And he has just told me no. And I don't, he tells me that there are some sites and all this other stuff. I've never heard of any of these sites. I've never seen any of these sites, all this other stuff, but I agree with you. I don't know if there should be a certification process. I do know in the horse world and the full-blood goat world, you have to pass a test or something and get a card and all this other stuff. I'm not saying that there should be a certification process. I do think that and this is a topic that I have on the list. I think that there should be judge accountability. And again, I don't know exactly how to go about it other than like a website and it being like Yelp or any of those other things where you got reviews. I truly believe Dale says you can't do that because then people just write, nonsense trash that's not true about certain judges just because they're mad because they got beat. I know that if I have the time at some point that I will figure out a way where you have to be accountable for what you put on there. Like either your credit card has to match the name and you don't have to have your name listed, but if you put something stupid and vulgar and, whatever up there, then we can go and we can trace it to you. But I do think that there needs to be something like that, like a rating system. And I think it would be a great asset to show managers if it was done by a reputable source and handled by reputable people and all this other stuff. They could go see that the people think this person is a great judge. They think this one's just an okay judge, whatever, all that other stuff. And I think it would, but there would have to be some accountability on the people that were giving the rankings or making the comments. And the only way to do that is it would have to be something like I'm saying. You would have to put a credit card down, not a charge, but have a credit card that is the exact same as the person's account on that website. And then therefore, if something comes up that is blasphemy or just, somebody just literally tearing a judge apart, all this other stuff, then it can be traced back. And, you say, well, this is who it was. Do you know of a situation where whatever, all this other stuff? So I think there should be. I don't know exactly how to handle it yet or to come up with it. It is a goal of mine, but I'm really, really a busy person right now. And so, but I do think there should be something. I don't know about a certification process. And I'm going to hurt people's feelings in the full blood world and in the horse world or anybody else that's there. I don't think there's much to that. I really don't. I mean, I could probably go get certified as a horse judge today, and I shouldn't be. And so I don't think there's a certification process that should be necessary because in the end, this is just an opinion, no matter what you're sorting, what you're doing. But I do think that there should be a system or a way. And I think the biggest benefit of it would be that the judges would know that people are going to hold them accountable for their actions, and it would give show managers a very, very valuable asset tool. Now, don't act like I'm gonna get this done in the next 6 months or anything. I am saying that it is something that I think needs to happen, and I am going to put some thought into it.
I think near impossible to manage, and in your fine print with that credit card number that you have, if they get out of hand on there, like your card will be charged X amount, might be a good place to start.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. That's
I understand.
The only way
I'm saying that, yes.
That's the only way to make sure that you can have accountability on somebody who's just being up there and being a jackass, because we know it will happen.
Yeah, and
it happens every day on social media.
Time management would be so difficult. But in an ideal world, what you're talking about, if it could be created and managed and all of those things appropriate, it'd be perfect. There's so many things that can go wrong with it, and it's been tried, I think, numerous times, and we see it in a lot of different things. I
have never seen any of these. Never.
Yeah, there's definitely been at least 2 sites that I can think of that would, and they never got off the ground very far, as I think why you weren't aware of those, but they do exist. And obviously I think in an ideal world it would be great, but I don't know how that could be structured where those that got beat, maybe justifiably so, that weren't upset wouldn't obviously come on, and it's complicated. I am all for an ideal system for that. And I think there's the other thing she's asking the judges certification on. I think you hit it really well. We don't even have an absolute ideal animal, whether it be a market animal, a breeding animal of any species, that there's a consensus on. And with that, it's hard to push people or make them go that direction. I realize you don't have to have that same ideal. You can just use some of the principles in terms of describing animals and the fact that they can do those kind of things. So there's maybe the same situation. There's a path that being certified could be good, but a very, very
I think certification
process.
Is crap.
See, I think it's just as difficult to do the other side. I think they both could be great if managed and implemented in a manner that I don't even know is possible. But you're right. The certification, I think rabbits do a certification. I know it's a committee that you're trying to agree. It's a challenge.
There's several different livestock things that you're supposed to be certified or all this other stuff. And I'll just be honest with you. I think it's crap in every instance because, again, what do you do to get that card or that certification? And then you go out there and do something completely different or what you think is truly right in the ring, then it's dumb.
Yes, I think
certification is dumb. It is.
I think
just dumb.
Any person that was dedicated or intelligent with some intelligence could program themselves.
Literally,
you or I could go get certified. Maybe you have to do so many shows. I'm not sure on the rabbit thing, but we could get certified in an area that we have zero expertise or knowledge or background.
Yes,
if we programmed ourselves to do it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I think that I could do any certification that there was if I wanted to, and I have no business judging rabbits or judging horses or judging dairy or any of those other things. And again, I'm not saying that all of those have certifications, but I'm telling you, I have every confidence in myself that I could pass whatever test to be certified in any of those things. And I have no business standing out there and judging any of that stuff.
Excellent description of why it maybe doesn't work the best. Second question, I'm going to use a name because it's fine. I don't think this is going to incriminate. Carol. I'm using the names because I actually took the time to write them down, Ryan. And we already kind of addressed this a little bit earlier. How do we get you guys to do more BTC or Beyond the Circus episodes? I love the insight and strong perspectives.
Well, the problem is the Beyond the Circus. There's so much stupid idiot nonsense to report on right now that it doesn't even matter. Like I could, but
maybe retirements of football players, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love the fact that people get to retire twice in the NFL. It's so valid and important to everyone's world. But anyway,
it is important to some people.
It was important last year too. Okay, next. But I do think with the State of the Union coming up and more people are starting to announce their candidacy for 2024, and now that the House is starting, committees and all this other stuff. I mean, like I said, today they started the border one. There's several things that we could talk about. I just think that after the State of the Union or State of Delusion, as I first call it, probably the best one to have because the midterms were so whacked anyway. I couldn't even report after that. Y'all would have not wanted to hear what I had to say. Probably won't want to hear what I have to say too because there'll be a lot of it. But I do think with more and more people announcing their intentions or rumors flying and stuff like that, hear what this idiot that is Commander-in-Chief has to say about the State of the Union, then we'll have one here in the next week or so.
Excellent. It does become a time issue on top of it.
Oh yeah.
So with that, our final question, and this one's you, Ryan, all you. This one comes from Jan, in case you're wondering who. Where can I go to get a better understanding of how EPDs are calculated for various beef breeds on the many trait categories that are now being measured?
Fantasyland.
That's the best answer. I am with you. I'm there. I am
Fantasyland.
absolutely there.
That's where you go. Fantasyland. Whoever sent
Be
this
nice.
question,
Be nice.
don't even worry. Don't waste your time. Just don't waste your time on it. Again, all of those numbers, they are so fictitious and so made up and so skewed and all of this other stuff. There's just really no reason to waste your time. But depending on what breed that you're looking at, if you will go to their national breed website, I am sure that you can find detailed information on how they come up with that bunch of Fantasyland bullshit that they put on those papers.
Don't hold back, okay?
Look, I'm just telling you, I didn't make a big deal of it on the mic. I didn't say anything, all this other stuff. I just judged at Cattlemen's Congress, and one of those shows had EPDs, whatever. I appreciated them giving me the information. I stuck it in my coat pocket, and I never looked at it a damn time in the ring. Not once.
Well, back to how I used to understand this, and I think it's similar to what we talked about before with your sanctioning or a database or a website for a judge's list. I think if the EPDs were derived from a controlled situation, a non-biased controlled situation, where you just put in data from different genetic lines and they were all measured with contemporaries and everything was done above board and accurately without bias, that it's a system that you could identify traits. And I think there would be some validity to those numbers. The manner at which this beast began and the manner at which people understand how to manipulate EPDs using various contemporary groups, using numbers that they submit that for the most part are unchecked, Ryan's Fantasyland becomes more of a reality. I'm not saying there aren't producers out there that do an absolute accurate job of measuring and reporting the traits.
And I'm also saying that there's just as many that don't.
Yes. And the problem is because those honest people are putting information into a skewed system, then their information becomes almost irrelevant. And that's too bad. And I'm not saying there isn't some tendency towards growth or milk or birth weight or whatever carcass trait or any of those traits that are measured. And there's so many that are being measured now that it's almost out of control, that some of those don't tend to lean that way in the real world. I agree. But to think that the numbers coming in are realistic, to think that people aren't manipulating how to get those numbers to go a direction that's beneficial to them, is maybe sticking your head in the sand. So with that said, and I'm not saying there's not a system that you couldn't put in play, but I'm afraid the system we have has already been manipulated so hard, I don't know how much value to put into it.
And I do want to say this. I do think the concept of EPDs is good. And I think that the concept of EPDs can help breeders and help producers and all this other stuff. I do not trust any of the information now because, just like you said, for the most part, it's unchecked, unvalidated, unproven, all this other stuff. But even if it was just in a perfect system where everybody was 100% truthful, or if it was all checked and all validated and all this stuff, well, I think it would be a great, amazing tool to make breeding decisions and mating decisions. I still do not think it has one damn use in a show ring whatsoever at all.
Zero. You don't have a strong opinion on this one.
No, not at all. No strong opinion. And I have explained on here why. This is a stock show. That is a material for y'all as breeders and producers in that given breed to see what you need to mate your different animals to, what bulls to use, all this other stuff. Think that's great. If it was all true and accurate, which it's not, there is no sense at all for anyone, any breed, I don't care who you are, why y'all want to include it in the actual live animal evaluation sort. Now, if you just want to have a number show, have a number show. And there is a breed that does that. And I'm perfectly fine with it because that's what they're doing. But yeah, no.
But you don't even need to bring the animals in.
They have a number show and that's fine. But yeah, no, this is not the topic for me to discuss. It's just not.
Now, on a positive note,
I get violent.
It has created an entire another segment of business that people are marketing animals off of, and all of those things. So it is what it is. Just be open minded to how you use it and how much emphasis you put in it, and that's for you to decide. Ryan and I have opinions on it, and I think. And we haven't even touched on the genomics, and that could be those genetic markers could be amazing if we'd had information to base those genetic markers on that were 100% accurate. If we assume them to be 100% accurate, we're fooling ourselves because we just they're going back to a database when in the origination to try to identify these things that isn't perfect. But if we accept that and understand that, and use them maybe as a tool and have the realization that, well, maybe this one isn't exactly right, but it can give us some direction. There's a place that I can accept the EPDs, the genomics, all of those things. But I caution people to don't use that as your absolute. I guess I'm gonna leave it at that. Ryan, thank you. This was good. And I hope I didn't get Jan in trouble for using her name because that went maybe a direction that some are not going to be happy with. Appreciate the topic, and I took a quote from you that we have a title, and no question that we have a new title that we're releasing. Your ability, I should back up here just a little bit to describe these things. You never know when people are watching is going to be the title, by the way, or when people are watching you. A little longer than usual, but I think it hopefully will draw. Everybody doesn't go on our Facebook or social media and they just scroll through Spotify or whatever platform they're on. I think that title is going to capture maybe what we're talking about here. I think this is an important one. You know what that means? When you and I both like it, there's going to be half the listeners.
No one will like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it just is what it is. But I appreciate it. I think it's good discussion. I hope the listeners appreciate it and can take some value out of it. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?